is that indicative of the day, though?
No, it's okay. It's just like things that are called like my luck or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. My guest tonight is a friend of mine. She's a mother of 5, and she always has that ukulele and sings for people. When like you're in, or if she wants to thank them, as well as having a chill vibe with stuff not working. But hey, what's a stream without tech issues, right? So we're gonna dive deep into more about lore regarding her channel, what she played mostly. I assume from the username that it's Sims inspired, of course, but we're gonna know more in a bit. How she got on Twitch and more. They're an amazing human being and such a lovely streamer to watch. She is taking a hiatus, but we're gonna find out what the hiatus was for. Like, what did she do? What led to that hiatus and everything. I'm happy to welcome one of my friends, Rubix, known as RubixPlumbob, to tonight's episode of Twitch Tea Time.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi. So in this space, we're gonna talk about everything from gaming to Twitch to social media life, probably 2023, plans for 2024, or the rest of it, mental health topics, life experience probably, and more. So just grab a drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy. So the first question I ask people is, how are you doing today?
Oh, you know what? I think one of my biggest things that I share with people is like, it's okay to be completely honest about your mentality and your mental health. Yeah. So being completely honest and transparent, it's been a shit week. So I am struggling, but I am also moving. So that's, I'm proud of myself for continuing to move on.
Yeah. So can you tell me about how you discovered Twitch, how you decided to become a streamer, and a bit about the channel?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so Twitch. I know a lot of people that, kind of discovered Twitch during the pandemic, during the shutdown. I, however, discovered Twitch after that. It was more in, I think, 2022, where things were letting up from all the shutdowns, and the pandemic was kind of easing up. I had been watching a lot. I got into Sims again. I've been playing Sims my whole life.
So hence the name.
Very first Sims game.
Hence the name, RubixPlumbob. So
yes, I mean there's a very particular story about that, but like how the name came specifically. But yes, definitely the Plumbob. I've been playing Sims since the OG Sims
1
game.
Sims 1.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've owned every single pack, expansion pack, stuff pack, like all of the things Sims. I've owned every single one across my lifetime. But I had just started getting back into it, and I was wanting ideas on things to build. So I was watching a lot of, big YouTubers that do a lot of Sims building. And I noticed that they were talking to people, and I was very confused because I didn't see anything happening. Where they were responding to something I could see. So I finally figured out they were on Twitch and streaming live, and it was a VOD that was posted later. So I signed in, and I was watching one of those big streamers live, and I was completely overwhelmed by how fast their chat was moving, and it was just crazy. So I started looking for smaller streamers in the Sims category. And I stumbled upon my friend Kaylee, That's So Kaylee, and she.
Why does the name ring a bell? That's So Kaylee.
That's So Kaylee is a mod for Hydrasung. And she's also
Hydra's episode came out today.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
she's also one of my mods. Yeah. One of my best friends. Like. She's one of the handful of people that know my actual name and has my phone number on Twitch. And
Wait,
we're talking
hold
like
on,
there's
hold
5
on.
of those.
Is your actual name not RubixPlumbob?
No, it's not.
I know.
Although if you talk to some of my friends, they will
Yeah.
swear that's on my birth certificate. It's not. But I did find Kaylee, and Kaylee's a fantastic human being. And what drew me in about her was she was doing Self-Care Sunday, and she had not made affiliate yet. But she just had this confidence, and she did Self-Care Sundays where she didn't wear any makeup. She just, played Sims and was really chill. And I loved that so much. I was in awe. And she raided into West Coast Cowgirl, the lovely Harles. And Harley was so welcoming, and her community was so welcoming. And so, if you're here, you're already a friend type of vibe. And invited me to play offline or off stream, community game nights and stuff. And I just got really involved with the community and really inspired to get involved. And my fiance suggested streaming, which was kind of things like that have been suggested to me before. I am a musician, and I have done a lot of random creative things, like crafts.
Do you have actual songs released?
I do not, and that's
Okay.
one of the things.
Okay.
I used to be in a band. I used to travel around, a couple of cities in my area with a band, and that was something that people would tell me, why don't you write music? Why don't you write songs? And, why don't you record TikToks? Why don't you record videos on YouTube? Why don't you do all these things? Why don't you sell your stuff that you make? And my answer was always the same. I don't have anything to say that's not already out there and being done better. So why bother? But after meeting That's So Kaylee and West Coast Cowgirl and all of their communities, the thought that I kept having was, it might not be anything new to say, but if what I'm saying is, if you're here, you're welcome, you're loved, you're accepted, you're important, you matter, and I'm proud of you, then that doesn't have to be something new to be said. Maybe I'm the voice that somebody heard that, they were looking for. Maybe I'm that voice that they needed. And there should be more of those voices out there. So even if it's not a new thing, if I'm just adding to that voice that's out there, that's enough for me. So I started streaming.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about where the name RubixPlumbob came from?
Yes.
Why Rubix and why Plumbob? It's just a fascinating username,
It's different, which is something that I'm very proud of, because I'm not typically a person that thinks of things that are different, really. But my fiance, when I met him, a little over 5 years ago, he was, I would watch him solve a Rubik's Cube in, less than 90 seconds. And it fascinated me completely. And he was telling me that it was something that he did when he was anxious. That was something that he used as a fidget, basically, to ground himself. And I had been dealing with a lot of anxiety at the time. And so I got one for him to have at my house when he came over to hang out. I used to have game nights and stuff. And I got one for him to have when he came over to the house, and I started playing with it, and it frustrated me to no end. So I ended up breaking it apart and putting it back together one piece at a time, figuring out where the pieces moved, and basically reverse engineering it to where I could figure out how to solve it.
When you said breaking it apart is taking ripping the pieces off, that's what I thought.
Oh yeah, and not just the stickers.
Oh.
It was in pieces.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
Yeah, I literally was putting the pieces back on and moving them around the core to figure out how the pieces moved around on the cube. But I figured out how to solve it, and I started taking a Rubik's Cube with me whenever I would go to my favorite karaoke bar, because I had a lot of nerves, that I was dealing with, and it would calm me down. And the karaoke DJ at the bar was a friend of mine, and he started calling me Rubix, and that became my karaoke stage name at that bar, and that stuck. And then when I was trying to find a Twitch username, one of the things that stuck out to me about Sims is the Plumbob, how it, whatever color it is indicative of the mood.
Yeah, the diamond above your head, in the Sims when you play the Sims. Just so for people who don't play the Sims, there's like a shining lozenge diamond, so something like that.
It's like a stretched out diamond almost. And it's indicative of the mood. So, your sim is doing okay if it's Plumbob is green. If it's, red, then it probably needs to eat or sleep or, needs care. And so it's very indicative of the mood. It's blue when it's sad, and it's, turquoise when it's inspired, and all these different colors. And the reason why I chose RubixPlumbob as my name is because I like to say that my moods are all mixed up and a little complicated.
So do you remember what was the first game you streamed?
It was definitely Sims.
Yeah, which Sims?
The Sims 4.
4. Because you said you were playing like the OG Sims. And I thought maybe you went live with the OG Sims. Because when I went live with the Sim 3 or Sims 2, people were just forming a line.
Oh yeah, I have thought about it because I do miss the OG Sims. There's so much nostalgia there. And Sims 3 was one of my favorite because we could build houseboats.
I love the Sims 3. Have you heard about the Sims 5?
Okay.
What they're gonna do with it?
I've heard some about it.
Yeah, I heard it's gonna be.
Not to get too excited because I know it's still gonna be a while.
Yeah, but I heard it's gonna be multiplayer on the get-go and free, but they're gonna keep the Sims 4 alive for cash grab. But at least later on, people are gonna veer towards Sims 5. Sims 4 is gonna decline, and they're gonna start making it like a paywall, I assume. EA,
which is not surprising at all.
EA,
but I do like that they'll have both available because I'm not sure how I feel about Sims being multiplayer. Because that's definitely a game I like to play and zone out on. But I mean, it will be for sure interesting to see how it all works out when they finally do release stuff. I think that will be a while still, though.
So you mostly, as I said, you mostly do chill games. What is one game that picked your mind so much that you want to play? That's a chill game.
It all just kind of depends on my mood. I have a lot of games that I just, when I'm in the mood for a game, I just kind of look at all my games and what am I really in the mood to play? And I start getting ideas for things that I want to do. So either I'll start thinking of it'd be fun to build a castle, or if I see a building, I'm that would be cool to build in Sims, and then I'll choose Sims. Or I might grab Stardew Valley and start another save file, which I'm notorious for. I never complete things on Stardew. It's the only game that I can't finish.
Yeah, I mean, have you seen it? Have you seen the new update in Stardew?
Not yet, because I generally play on my Switch. That's kind of one of my games that I like to tuck into my blankets and play and curl up. So I haven't played much on the PC. So I don't technically have the update for it yet. So I haven't really seen it. I've tried to not watch the other streams with my friends about it. Because I do want to be a little bit surprised.
Yeah. So how did you decide on what content you're going to be streaming of all these games? Because I remember you told me you also played Phasmo. You also did other games.
I really kind of go with the vibe. When I see my friends playing games that I'm very interested in, I will say that That's So Kaylee is responsible for probably half of the games that I have bought in the last couple years, maybe all except Supermarket Sim. I've bought because I was, enticed, I guess, by That's So Kaylee. She'll call me and be like, I need you to get this game so that you can play it with me. So Faz was one of those games, and I went ahead and got it, and everybody was saying you should stream it. And I was like, I do Sims. Like, I have a Plumbob in my username. I gotta just do Sims. But I had several friends who were streaming Faz, and so I thought, okay, well, I guess I'll do, joint streams and co-streams with them, and
see how it goes.
It was a lot of fun, and it definitely turned into, because they knew more about the game than me, it definitely turned into, let's watch Rubix scream and run around the house like a freaking idiot. So
so what's like what are your limits regarding your streams? Like, what would piss you off? What's allowed in chat? What isn't?
I would love to say, bullying. However, if you've ever been in my chat, it definitely looks like my mods and I kind of bully each other, and like the good friends, the close friends.
No, I know what kind of bullying you mean. I know what kind of bullying isn't allowed. Yes. I know. Yeah. Like homophobia and those as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all in good fun. But when it starts to get to the point where it's something that's like, you see something in chat and like that was directly intended to hurt someone, or to make them feel uncomfortable, that kind of stuff gets deleted instantly. And my mods are so fast, like they will get rid of things before I've even seen them.
So you've had this altercation before?
Yeah, we've had some people come in and say a couple of things, and my mods take care of that so fast I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I've had someone when I did Jackbox on New Year's Eve. I'm gonna use a slur, but I'm sorry about this. Someone called himself Hurak Hunt. Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm not gonna tolerate this, and it's someone I know. So I told them, like, please step away, step down, please.
Yeah.
Or change the username, or you know what? Don't change the username. Don't do anything. Just step down.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I know it's a good thing in Australia. It's like not a good thing, but like it's like a slang that isn't that offensive in Australia, but it's offensive to the US. It's offensive to British people. Really? So I have these. Yeah, it's like using the word bastard in some pieces. Bastard is like kind of like offensive in some way, but it's not.
Right.
Yeah. So what games you would never see yourself playing?
Oh, things like Call of Duty and Halo. I am just absolute garbage at games like that. Anything that has shooting, which is funny because one of the first games I played was 007 GoldenEye, like way back on whatever Nintendo that was. I don't even remember. I was so young.
64 probably, Nintendo N64.
So. Yeah, I think it was 64. But I used to play that, and I used to play also Perfect Dark with my brother. And I was really good at those games then, but I think now, like, I can't aim. I cannot aim. I have to have all of the handicap things on when I am playing games like that, and it's just not fun. Yeah. My friend wants me to play Fortnite real bad, and I'm just like, I have zero interest in this. The only reason why I would play Fortnite is to play the Rock Band stuff.
You can play Fortnite. You can do Lego Fortnite. It's a survival chill game. You don't have to shoot anything.
See, it's just not that it's. I guess Fortnite is just not. It hasn't interested me at all. I have played a couple of times just completely out of being coerced by friends.
My friend doesn't like Fortnite, but when I told him about Lego, he was like, I'll give it a play. And then he discovered that there's racing in it, and all he does is racing.
Yeah, that's the thing. If I started to play Fortnite, it would definitely be just for like the rock band or, maybe the farming thing. I really haven't even paid much attention to what is on
Yeah.
there. Because I'm so disinterested.
Yeah. It's becoming such a like big platform on its own,
Yeah.
like a plethora of
It's
games.
taken over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've heard you can also play Faz in it.
Yeah, there's Phasmophobia. There's also Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see, if I'm going to play that, I would rather just play that,
Yeah.
like not on Fortnite,
Yeah.
but I would rather just play Faz if I'm going to play Faz.
Yeah. So, how many hours per day or week do you spend on Twitch in general?
Oh, the call out. A lot. I probably have tabs open 24/7. And I'm always lurking in somebody's stream because I have gotten to know a lot of people that are just all over the world, which is one of the best things about Twitch, right? You get to know people that are in all time zones.
Yeah, all of the like traditions, all of the like cultures and stuff.
Absolutely. And so I'm pretty much always lurking in streams. I also don't typically sleep. I have a really hard time with sleeping,
Insomnia.
like having a normal sleep schedule. So I'll be up at 4:00 in the morning here in the US, and just kind of, that's when my friends in Australia are on. So I'll get on there. Or sometimes I'll be up very early, like at 6 a.m. here, and then I'll see Blue Seas on or something like that. I like.
Am I really on at 4 a.m. for you?
3 a.m.
Am I really on at like 4 a.m. for you? Sometimes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah, time zones.
Yeah.
But like, since like now a question came to mind. So, you haven't been on for a while. You just made your comeback like a week or two ago. What caused this hiatus?
Oh, so this has been one of those times in my life where it's I'm sure everybody can relate to having moments in life where just like every single thing that could go wrong has gone wrong, and it's all kind of just hit one after the other after the other. And I did take one. I actually took two hiatuses. The first one was when I had baby Sunshine. I took a break from that, and right before that happened, I was also kind of displaced. We were moving out of one house, and the house we were supposed to move into fell through. So we ended up having to stay with family for a while, and almost a full year, and then moved into a different house, and now we're kind of set up. But I think it was December 27th. I had been streaming back for a while. I had been getting a schedule in place, kind of had a routine with it, and then my motherboard just said, "So long, cruel world," and bit the dust, and I cried hard. Like,
oh my god!
Because I do have two computers. I use a stream computer, and then I use a game computer. So my stream computer only runs OBS and like Mix It Up bot and things like that.
Yeah, I wonder how you can like link them up. Like link. I don't understand that concept. Like, how can you link two PCs with one?
I use a capture card.
Okay.
To go through it, but that way, because I was struggling a lot when I first streamed with playing games like Sims that had a lot of high graphics, and still being able to run OBS. And so I switched to having two computers. I heard somebody talk about using two computers to accomplish it, and I had another computer available to me, so I did that. And it worked out really, really well until my stream PC died. And then I was trying to fix it, trying to, swap out the motherboard and all those things. But I also had no money to invest in it. also had a lot going on at home. My one of my kids, my 9-year-old, was going through some really tough mental health issues, which at her age was kind of blowing my mind, and I was struggling on how to deal with that, how to help her through it. And then she was also diagnosed with ADHD, and she actually struggles most with impulsivity, which I know you understand.
I have impulsivity. I have done stuff out of impulsivity, and I regret these, and I am not ashamed of saying that, like, impulsivity. But you need to understand people that have impulsivity to be able to just like cope with their life, you know?
Yeah, and I had a lot of people telling me with regards to like the things that were going on with my daughter that they were focusing a lot on the actions themselves and how to deal with those. And I was trying to talk to the therapist and everything and trying to say, like, listen, I understand what you're saying, that these actions are very concerning, but I think that what's most concerning is the actions, I think, are really impulsivity issues. I don't think that she is actually meaning the things that she's doing and saying. I think that she's just acting impulsively, and I think that that needs more attention. And so it's been a struggle with that. My fiance also is in the beginning stages of liver failure. So helping him get better and trying to get him the care that he needs, trying to take care of him.
Oh my God.
Has got to the point where he was having tremors that were so bad that they looked like seizures.
Oh God.
And I kind of would have to like jump away from my computer and just kind of help hold him steady. We had so many things going on that were overwhelming. It took me a long time to get my PC back to working order. A friend gifted me a PC, and that helped move things along faster. And then I realized that when I swapped my hard drive over, for some reason I had my files, but my backups were gone, so I had to start over completely with OBS and mix it up.
Yeah.
And I had a lot going on there. So I've been slowly rebuilding everything. I also was spending a lot of time helping a few of my friends in their streams, helping them set things up and figure things out on their stream. And to where I wasn't spending much time on my own. So I got in trouble for that with my friends, and they ended up like blocking me from helping them so that I could focus on my stuff. Which I love them for and kind of hate them for. I wanted help, and they were like, you're not allowed. And I'm like, but it'll take me 5 minutes,
5 minutes turns into 500 seconds, into 5 hours.
I didn't tell them that part, though. I wanted them to focus on, let me do 5 minutes,
Yeah.
But I did come back. The imposter syndrome was hitting me real hard with that anxiety about pushing the start button. And finally just did it, tried to do it real low key and quiet and sneak on and not post anything or, I didn't want it to ping anybody. But I guess I had already set that up thinking it was a good idea. And I think I was even in a call with a couple of my mods and was like, I'll talk to you guys later. I got to go do something. And then didn't even tell them I was going live. And I just kind of went live, and they were like, excuse me. You're going to try and act like, I'm going to go take care of something and then just go live and not tell us, like we're not going to be there.
And next thing you know, I surprised you with a raid from a friend.
Yeah. Yes, somebody that I had just, watched or listened to the podcast episode for them. So I knew who they were, and I was like, oh my gosh, no, not now. I'm not ready. This is a test stream.
So what? Now you got to meet them at least.
It was great. I really enjoyed hanging out with the group when they raided in. I really enjoyed seeing everybody. I didn't anticipate the reaction that I got when I went live. it kind of broke me. Like I really didn't know. I was so overwhelmed, like with what am I looking for the word? Like I was overwhelmed by like the love that was just overflowing.
See, people love you. People want you
everybody.
back. People want you back. You know, like I've been wanting, like, hey, Rubix hasn't been on for a while. I wonder if they're okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, for a long time, I still wouldn't even say that I'm okay, and that's hard for me because I want everybody to feel comfortable enough to like say I'm not okay and know that there's nothing wrong with that, that they have support and that we've all experienced that and that we all understand how that feels.
Yeah.
And we can all be there for each other in whatever way, is feasible for us. But for myself, I've never wanted to come on stream and like trauma dump for people. So I try to be very quiet about my issues, but I will say enough to be like, yeah, I'm not okay. I am a mess. I'm an absolute mess. And sometimes it's just hard to have a happy face during all of that. But
yeah,
I am trying to quiet that voice more and just press the live button. And I always feel 10 times better after hanging out with my friends in chat. That's part of the reason why when I came back to do more coffee chats.
Yeah.
To just hang out with friends.
I mean, you could always do something similar to co-working, which is like maybe putting on a little bit of lo-fi and just talking, or just like doing stuff, contemplating, maybe even like download something called a plastic duck simulator. It's just a duck game. You don't have to play. They just spawn. Yeah, they just spawn. If you want to do like just chill talking, they can choose the ducks. You can name them. Mm-hmm. I've done that.
Yeah, I have done a lot of co-working streams. I used to do like the Pomo streams before this last hiatus, and I enjoyed those so much. And I would take turns. Every morning I was streaming, and I think it was Monday, Wednesday, Friday I was doing co-working streams, and then Tuesday, Thursday I was doing just chatting, just coffee chats in the morning. So I'm gonna get back to there. I'm just kind of letting myself go slowly because of everything that's going on.
Yeah, baby steps.
I'm still dealing with, trying to help my daughter through her things. Trying to take care of my fiance through his things. And then I'm also now, being forced into a custody battle with my ex-husband. So there's a lot of things that are going on that are just so overwhelming. So I'm just being gentle with myself and moving slowly.
Yep. So now we're gonna go to segment 2, which is like a lightning round.
Yeah.
It's something that's like kind of like a quick fire thingy, but it's more like also a pop quiz about you. So I just like joined them in one.
Okay.
So do you mind telling me and the listeners what's your daily routine? Like something you always like to do? Has it become regular?
Oh, I don't think I really have one, to be honest. I knew this question was coming, and I was struggling to figure out how to answer that. I guess the only thing that I do every day is I get a cup of coffee.
Yeah, mine would be like get on the PC. That's become a solid part. If I'm not on Twitch, if I'm not on Discord, I can't go on with my day anymore.
Yeah, I sometimes I get a little too overwhelmed to do it, but I guess I have also I get my coffee, and I've been getting in Discord with friends. And just getting into VC chats, and we'll either do not technically co-working, but I guess kind of co-working. We'll put Pomo timers on and be accountable to each other, and like, hey, like let's clean our rooms and things like that, which has been really it's been really helpful. At one point I was in a Discord voice channel that was open in the server it was in, and I actually had my webcam on facing my bedroom and was cleaning it and doing laundry. And I was just like, I don't know why I'm doing this.
It's like a reality TV Rubix.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, why? I hate that everybody's saying this because I felt like my room was a complete just pigsty.
Oh yeah.
Everybody was like, it's really not that bad. But I mean, I got it clean because I
had
knew my
people
friends
watching.
there, and as soon as I had them watching and keeping me accountable. As soon as I sat down on my bed or something, my friends would be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Like, you're working. It's not time to take a break yet. You need to get back up." And that was helpful. I needed that. I needed somebody to keep me moving. So that has become kind of a routine for me to do those more often with my friends, and I love that.
Yep. So what's your favorite comfort food of all time?
Oh, also depends on my mood. So many things, I guess, that comfort me are based on my mood. Either what games I play, what food I eat, what drinks I have. I guess some of my favorites. I love sushi.
Oh, I love sushi. We have a sushi restaurant across the street from me.
Yes, yeah, I've heard you mention that, and I'm jealous because, oh my gosh, although it's probably good that I don't have one across the street from me because there would be all my money just gone. I would be buying sushi every day. My kids love sushi. If your 9-year-old eats octopus, you've done something right. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So I love sushi. I also love hot wings, and I love like traditional comfort foods like grilled cheese and tomato soup, or chicken and dumplings, things like that. So it just depends on what my mood is and what kind of comfort I need, I guess.
Since we're speaking about food, what's the weirdest thing you've tasted?
Oh no. One of my oldest friends, if I have a lot of friends that like I've known since high school and longer, and one of the things that my friends still tease me about is I used to go, I don't know why. I honestly don't know why. Like it felt like one of those things that was like the pregnancy cravings where you just get pickles and ice cream because it sounds like it will work. But I was not pregnant when I started doing this, I swear. But I used to go get nachos from this gas station that was near the co-op that I used kind of as schooling. I was homeschooled in high school. I would go get these nachos, and I would get the cheese on the chips, and then I would also get sardines and put them on there. Sardines and jalapenos.
I mean, I can. The weirdest thing I love, not tasted, but like I love is ketchup on rice. But I've tasted octopus, and I must say,
Oh, I love octopus.
Yeah,
it's so good.
It is. I had like those teeny tiny ones, the baby ones. I snuck into my curry at some point because my cousin loves to experiment. And I'm like, what the hell is that? When I had like a mouthful, and she's like, it's octopus. I'm like, didn't I remove them all? I'm like, this tastes so good. I want more, but also yuck.
It's delicious, but then you're like thinking about it, and you're like, oh no, what did I do?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess the weirdest thing would be the sardines on nachos. I had also at one point I was eating those little ice cream sandwiches that are like the chocolate soft, sandwich with the vanilla ice cream in the middle. I was eating sardines on top of those. I don't know why. I have no excuse for that. But it happened. It was weird.
Yeah. So if you ever were to be any object or creature, real or fictional, what would you be and why?
I have been dreading this question. I have no way to answer it.
You can skip. You can skip if you want.
I do want to try and think of an answer, but I guess I would be... Okay, look, one of the things about my channel is I embrace the fact that I am cheesy. And this answer is is just cheesy. There's no other way to put it. But I would be a family dining room table.
Nice.
Because I would get to witness a lot of really beautiful moments, probably a lot of very exciting arguments as well, but also fun game nights and, you know, kind of be able to witness people coming together to spend time together. So there's your cheesy answer for the day. You're welcome.
Yeah. So what's one thing you tell yourself often?
I tell myself a lot of things often. One, I guess the two things I tell myself most often when I'm trying to like give myself a pep talk or remind myself that things are going to be okay.
Yeah.
I like to remind myself that I have not come this far to only come this far. And that I need to keep moving. And also that I do tell myself very often to breathe. I remind myself to breathe a lot. But I guess like the main, like if you want to quote, I like to tell myself very often, like, you can do this. You did not come this far to only have come this far.
Yeah.
Keep moving.
So what would you do with $1 million?
Cry. I would cry, scream, and throw up, and then I would buy a house out where there's land and a couple of horses, and then slowly, you know, just live off whatever was left.
So what's one big red flag you can't handle in a person?
Disrespect, I guess.
Yeah.
And that might feed into a lot of different areas. But which is funny that I say that, because if you ever listen to my friends and I talk, like, we are so disrespectful to each other. But it's also in a way that, you know we're joking, we know we love each other, we play fight all the time. But when it comes down to actual disrespect, like, my kids know that's my only hot button. I really don't yell. I tend to be a very, very patient mom. But when I feel like my kids are being disrespectful, that is my hot button. My blood will boil very quickly, and my kids know when they've gone too far. When I stop them, I'm like, you need to excuse yourself and go to your room so that I can calm down. Because they've gone too far. So disrespect is definitely my hot button. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in your opinion, what do you think is the worst invention ever?
Ooh. I am probably going to say cheese.
Cheese?
No, not cheese. I don't know. I really don't know.
You can skip it if you want.
Yeah, I might skip that one because I'm really not sure. There are a lot of things where I know I will look at them and be like, why? You know, like, why is this a thing? Why did this happen? But I can't think of anything right off the top of my head at the moment.
Okay. Besides gaming, what are your favorite hobbies?
I have had so many hobbies over the last decade, especially during, COVID and the shutdown. Like, so many things I started doing just to keep myself busy. I love to cook, and not baking, because I am garbage when it comes to baking. I cannot make desserts to save my life. But I do love cooking, like making my own pasta and things like that. Excuse me. I love to sew and cross stitch and just like create things. And lately I've been doing a lot with like graphics as well. So lots of hobbies. There's lots of things. I love playing music. I guess that would be my favorite one too.
Yeah.
Just playing. I will just grab my ukulele and go on a spree, just song to song to song, and sometimes develop mashups and things like that. And I'll get my kids involved and like, hey, will you sing this part for me when this comes up, so that I can hear how it goes together and things like that.
Yep. What's something you always wanted to learn but you didn't find time for?
Coding. And I really wish I had, especially when my dad was alive, because my dad was a software engineer and wanted me to learn coding, and I was never at the point where I had the time to sit down and do it. But I really wish I had, because now I'm going to school for it, and I wish I had had a jump start on it.
That's interesting. So that's a 3-part question here. What's one of your all-time favorite songs?
I don't have one. Music is like a language for me.
Yeah.
It's a very expressive thing for me. So my favorites change depending on my mood, depending what I'm going through. Again, this is part of like the RubixPlumbob thing. It's very indicative of like my moods change and everything changes with it. So I think that right now a song I enjoy singing along to a lot is there's a couple that I have, one being Lost on You by LP. I think it's a fantastic song. My baby is obsessed with the song Never Ending Song by Conan Gray. It's got a very aha feel, very 80s feel, even though he's like a young kid, which I love. So that's on in my house a lot. And I also love musicals. So I'm constantly singing things from Wicked or Dear Evan Hansen or Hamilton or any of those. So it's my favorite song changes on an hourly basis.
Now, the same question, but with movies.
Movies, my favorite movie will always be The Little Mermaid. There's so much attached to it for me. The animated one. Yeah,
because there's like 3 or 2 animated ones.
Yeah, there's 3 animated ones. There's like they did like a series. There was also an animated TV show. But that movie, I don't know why it started. But I had to the point where 90s kid here, y'all. So I had recorded the entire movie, the audio for it on a cassette tape. Like I had my cassette player next to my TV speaker and recorded the entire thing and would listen to it every single day in the car whenever we went on a drive. We used to drive between 2 cities specifically. It was like an hour and a half drive, and I would listen to that movie the entire time on my cassette player. So I know that entire movie word for word.
Nice.
But I also loved, I did that also with My Best Friend's Wedding. That was another movie that's very nostalgic for me, a good favorite. And I have a lot of favorite like series movies that I will rewatch whenever I just need that. Things like Harry Potter, sometimes Hunger Games, things like that. It also changes depending on my mood.
I heard there's a new Hunger Games movie. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was really good. It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. I think that they set the bar really, really high with the 4 original Hunger Games movies. But I did enjoy it. I love movies. I used to own, at one point I owned over 800 DVDs.
I have like 5,000 sitting in my bedroom right now. So
yep, I collected movies. I still kind of collect them, but more on streaming services and stuff now. But I am obsessed with movies, and I different. I'm not very critical of them. I more accept them for what they are. Like,
Yeah.
this is what this movie is. I know what the tropes are, and I'm just going to accept it for that. And then I will enjoy it more. I won't be so picky, like, that sucked. It was predictable, whatever. I don't tend to do that. So I really like everything. I do have 10 favorite stories, and I even have a tattoo that has pictures of them.
Yeah.
And those are movies I will always go back to and watch, or books that I will read.
Yeah. Now the last question is the same thing, but with TV shows or series.
Well, I am one of those people that is still watching Grey's Anatomy, and has been from day one. I also really enjoyed The Magicians. My friends tease me because I'm trying to get a few friends that loved the ACOTAR books to watch The Magicians, because I think they will like it. Also, the fairies in The Magicians, or the fairies in ACOTAR, remind me very much of the fairies in The Magicians. So I love that show. I also love like the the Chronicles of Narnia and Harry Potter feel, but for grown-ups.
Oh my god.
Of it, so
I really am sad that they didn't carry on with the Narnia movies.
Yes, I knew that they wouldn't, because they never do. They always do those three: the Chronicles of, or the Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, and Voyage of the Dawn Treader.
They were planning on doing the Silver Chair, which the Silver Chair is actually the very first story in like chronologically.
Actually, it's not. It's The Magician's Nephew.
Oh, well, yeah.
And that's my favorite of the series, and I keep wanting, I'm like, all right, they're making these movies again. Maybe they will make Magician's Nephew.
Are
and
they?
I am most excited for somebody to make it, and it's never happened.
Wait, are they remaking them?
Huh?
Are they making them again?
I have heard it going around. I've heard, I think somebody was talking about doing it, that somebody was making a TV show with them.
Yeah, TV
I don't
show.
know if that's accurate.
TV show about Harry Potter. That's gonna happen. It is being shot.
Yeah, I know about that one.
Yeah.
But I grew up watching the Chronicles of Narnia have been made into a couple of series, like back in the 80s.
Oh.
Like the 80s and the 90s, they redid those movies, or they did those movies twice. And then I think they were cartoons though. And then Disney, the ones that everybody has seen.
Walden
Disney
Media,
did.
yeah. Walden Media.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
then the last one was like bought by Warner Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was hoping when that happened that it meant they were going to keep going, but I was so disappointed. I just want somebody, please somebody make The Magician's Nephew, please.
Make them all. I'm not gonna read the books, and if from now until like 10 more years, I'll give them 10 more years. If they're not gonna do that, I'll finally just cave in and read the books.
Do it. The Magician's Nephew is my favorite. It goes into like how Narnia was created, and it is one of the most beautiful scenes that I've ever read. Just the way that they talk about how the creation of Narnia happened was so beautifully written. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah. So, if you had one special superpower, what would it be and why, and how would you use it?
Ooh. Okay. So I'm gonna go back to like when I used to watch Heroes. I would want, if we're talking about like, are we talking about like in a world where there are other people with superpowers?
Yeah, I mean, mine is teleportation, and I think teleportation is something that you should like either inherit or earn.
Yes, I agree with that, because I could see how that would be misused. But Anna Burden, I would want, so there was an ability that somebody had in the show Heroes, where whoever, if they were around someone else and touched them, they would adopt their superpower. So they could change their superpower. And I would want that one just so that I could have them all. You know, I would befriend somebody with each kind of superpower, like Pokemon. You know, like gotta catch them all. I would want every superpower. Just so I could experience many different things. So that's going to be my superpower I would choose.
Nice. Okay, now we're gonna go to the final segment, which is the mental health. In this segment, we will be talking about mental health and some sensitive subjects. In regards to past episodes, I will forcibly say that I apologize in advance for any heavy or triggering terms that might be used. And by that, I don't mean you cannot use those terms anymore. I'm just giving a disclaimer for people. You feel free to talk about anything as dark. We spoke about rape, we spoke about self-harm, which is totally fine. I'm sorry if the words are triggering, but it's a triggering segment. So mental health is not an easy subject to talk about. I'm gonna say this again. Some subjects might seem triggering or heavy, so be well aware as you listen, and feel free to either skip or dip out on this segment if you feel uncomfortable about some subjects. This also applies to future episodes too, so listen at your own risk or will. Rubix, I asked you, do you have a certain mental health topic or life experience you want to talk about? You said maybe general depression. Talk about how that interacts with motherhood. Maybe have a complex PTSD. You haven't heard anyone talk about it. We can talk about all this. I'm gonna shut up, and it's all your segment now.
Boy, it's so. It's a little overwhelming trying to figure out how to start these conversations. I
maybe start with the motherhood thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I have 5 kids. Before I had 5 kids, I definitely went into. I had a lot of stuff happen in my life. A lot of mental health experiences. And a lot of various ones too, just lots of different things. And my biggest thing has always been how to, as a mom, you want to protect your kids from going through the hard things that you've gone through. You want to protect your kids from anything that could hurt them. So I have had a very, very open relationship with my kids as far as talking about things. Age appropriate, of course. I talk to my 16-year-old about things I do not talk to my 9-year-old about. But I have always tried to normalize mental health to the point where my 16-year-old a couple of years ago went to I'm not sure what kind. I think it was just general mental health awareness. But some kind of event, like a walk or something. And she came home and she was like, I had no idea until now that mental health in general was not a normal thing to talk to your parents about. She just didn't know that because it's normal for her. We talk about mental health, anytime the subject comes up. I have what I call a safe zone with my kids, where it started with an actual place in the house that they knew if we were sitting in that place and talking, it was like a bubble, and they were allowed to say anything to me, as long as they were being respectful, and that they were, as calm as they could be. They could talk to me about anything and not get in trouble. And I literally told them, you can tell me you think I'm doing a terrible job, and that you're angry with me, and you're not going to get in trouble for it. As long as you're respectful, don't start calling me cuss words or something, because I'm your mom. But you can talk to me about anything and you're not going to get in trouble, and we'll get through it together. Now my kids know it doesn't have to be a particular area in the house, and they'll just say, hey, can I call a safe zone? I'm like, yeah, let's talk about it. So I think that it's so important to normalize mental health with your kids, make it something that they feel safe to talk about. and that's how I try to, I guess, make that a normal thing for them, so that when they go out into the world, they know that when they're affected by something, no matter what it is, no matter what experience, they can get through it and they can get help. Like, therapy is not taboo for them. They, we're all very pro therapy here in my family. So that's something that I really want them to take into their adult lives, to help them. Because I didn't have that. I grew up in a time where it was very like, oh, it's all in your head. And it's like, well, duh. I mean, it's mental health. Of course, it's all in your head. But like Dumbledore says to Harry Potter, like, of course it's all happening in your head, but why does that mean it's not real? Paraphrasing a bit, but yeah, I've been through a lot of things in my life that have very much affected me, where I've struggled to whether or not I'm being a good mom, with the stuff I'm going through. Like, if I'm depressed, I have to fight myself to be present for my kids, because I want to hide under my blankets and stay there for days sometimes. Fighting that to be there for my kids on a daily basis has been a struggle, but it's one that I'm doing. Like, I'm getting through that. My kids know that I'm there for them. They also understand, because we've normalized those conversations, that I'm struggling. They know when I don't have enough spoons, and they all kind of chip in and help. Like, they'll figure out what to do for dinner. They'll take turns making things for dinner, because I've been trying to teach them how to cook, and they like to use those opportunities to practice. And yeah, I mean, that's what I got to start with.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about like the experience of being a mother, especially for 5 kids? Like, it isn't like just a number. It's like a big settlement, 5 kids is not easy.
It's not easy. And they are all in very different phases of their lives. Like, I have a 16-year-old who is, starting to plan for college and starting to plan for, surprise, I'm going to be an adult and on my own in a couple years. So she's going through those things. I have a 13-year-old who is entering that weird, funky place where, people expect her to act more grown up, but she's also a kid. And I'm trying to remind her, like, don't lose that yet. Like, enjoy being a kid for a little bit longer. But yeah, this is your opportunity to start practicing things that you're going to be an adult about later. I also have, I have 2 9-year-olds. One of them is my daughter, who, like I mentioned earlier, has had her struggles with, being recently diagnosed ADHD, her impulsivity. So, she's a little neurospicy. My fiance also has a 9-year-old son from a previous relationship, who has now become, a son to me. I see him as mine, no differently as my own kids. And he is autistic and nonverbal. So he's, also one of my neurospicy kiddos. And that has been a totally different experience, because I didn't start out with him from infancy. He was a toddler when I met him. So I missed, the first couple of years of his life, and had to learn about him very quickly, spending time with him. So that was a different experience than what I knew from raising my own kids from birth. And then I have an 11-month-old who I'm just waiting to see what kind of personality she's going to have. It's very tough having those different age ranges where they're all in very, very different spaces of life. They're all going through very different experiences and things. It is hard trying to figure out where the line is of being protective and smart and minimizing the risk of things happening to them, but also not being overprotective to the point where they are so sheltered they don't learn about the world. That's a hard balance for me, and I have a lot of trauma from my childhood where I was very, very sheltered and did not learn about the world until I was, thrust out into it. And that made it an overwhelming experience, induced a lot of anxiety for me. So yeah, finding that balance is very time consuming and a struggle. It takes constant thought, and kind of gives me more anxiety sometimes because I overanalyze absolutely everything. Every answer I give my kids, every way I handle things that they want to do, I'm overanalyzing it. Like, is this decision going to end up with my kids being in therapy when they're in their 30s? What kind of trauma am I possibly handing to my kids? Where, when a therapist talks to them in adulthood, they'll be like, tell me about your mother. Oh boy, here it comes. There's a lot of overthinking that I do, probably to the point where it's detrimental to my own mental health. And I screw up. I screw up with my kids sometimes. I say the wrong thing, or I go about it the wrong way, and I realize, dang, that might have worked with this child, but this is a different kid with a different personality, different goals, different love languages, different things. And I mess that up sometimes. But then I have also become a parent that will very easily go to my kids and say, I am sorry. I screwed that up. That was on me. And you tell me how that made you feel so that I can do better in the future.
Yeah. Now shall we move on to the PTSD part, if you want?
Sure.
Yeah.
Complex PTSD is something that I learned about more recently in my own therapy. I didn't really know about it, and I feel like it's not as widely talked about as traditional, PTSD. But complex PTSD, for those that don't know, is similar to PTSD, except the trauma is a result from experiencing the disorder is words are hard sometimes, sorry. The complex PTSD is a disorder that results from having chronic trauma. It's the same traumatic experiences happening back to back to back to back to back, and continuing on with it. So things like, child abuse, domestic violence, anything that's a continual issue over a long period of time produces complex PTSD. And I found out I had that a few years ago, and it was a very new world for me. Made me understand myself a little bit better, like why I get anxiety the way that I do. A lot of the ways I exert control over my life are, because of the lack of control I felt. That's all part of complex PTSD. And yeah, it's definitely a different thing. Most of the time, abuse victims deal with it, and I think sometimes it's misdiagnosed as PTSD from like a singular event, instead of realizing that it was a continuous trauma, and complex PTSD is a little bit differently dealt with, because it feeds into a lot more of how you live your everyday life, how you deal with situations as they come up, instead of just like having something trigger you. And, I have PTSD from other things as well. And And those things, they trigger me and I just kind of fall apart in that moment, but I can put myself together. Complex PTSD causes me to have a lot more anxiety about going through my daily life, making decisions about things. So it's a different beast for sure.
So, people with PTSD, like, what do you think would cause it for them? Like, what? Yeah, like, I know, it's like a stupid question, but like, some people maybe don't know what PTSD is.
Yeah. So post-traumatic stress disorder. I mean, they're both complex. PTSD and PTSD are both similar. Like I said, it's just the length of the traumas, the length of what happened. I've experienced both. I was, and I'll also just reiterate the apologies for triggering issues. I was abducted when I was a teenager, and raped and found on the side of the road. Several minutes away from where I lived, and that I had a lot of PTSD from that, where it was very hard to keep myself calm. It was very hard for me to be alone. I had a lot of anxiety about being alone. I had a lot of anxiety about people touching me. I couldn't talk to new people for a very long time. I couldn't have new relationships or meet new people for a very long time. Because I was very triggered by that. Complex PTSD wise, I sustained a lot of abuse as a child, a lot of physical abuse, which then carried over into my relationships, where I had an extremely abusive husband, and that complex PTSD kind of resulted in things like being able to regulate my emotions, my identity. I had a very hard time figuring out who I was, and where my sense of self and my self-worth. I struggled with that a lot. It also fed into difficulty in relationships. I would have a hard time being my true self in relationships because I lived in constant fear of how people were going to react to me. If I said something or did something or they found out my beliefs, how they were going to react to me as a person, if I was going to lose that friendship, if they were going to, if I was going to get into a fight with them about something or an argument, like it's, they feed into each other very, very differently, Yep.
So basically, that's kind of all the time we have, Rubix. I thank you so much for being a guest. Thank you so much for making time.
I thank you for having me. This was really great.
It was a fun blast. Like the last part, I was eating my ice cream and listening to you talk, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, and I wish I'm still learning a lot about it myself. Still unpacking a lot of things that I experienced in therapy myself. But I think that the main thing I hope people walk away from, if you're still listening, is it's okay. What has come into your life, what has happened to you, can be part of your story without defining you. And that transition, whatever you need to do as far as therapy and healing and discovering yourself, make that transition, make everything you can out of it, because you'll get through it at the end of the day. You did not come this far to only have come this far. You can keep going.
Yep. Also, it's nice and it's good to talk about it.
Yeah, it should be normalized. Everybody goes through things. And I hate the way that people don't want to admit that they're not okay. Like, none of us are doing okay. Like, 2023, 2022, 2021, 2024, they can all fuck off. These years have been so difficult for so many people, and it should be okay to say, I'm a mess and I need support and I need friends that I can talk to about the things that I'm feeling. Because when you bottle those things up, it can explode and really, really hurt you. And it's an easy thing, to just let those things out and talk about them. So I love that you have this segment on the podcast where we can be open and talk about these things, because hopefully that makes it a little bit more normal for anybody listening. Like, you can talk about this stuff.
Yep. So, because like I wanted to, how do I say that? Like, I wanted to add a mental health segment, because like I was like, okay, so I did this with celebrities here in my country, but we didn't talk mental health,
Right.
We didn't talk a lot of like personal topics, but it's kind of like a carbon copy of the program I had here in Arabic. So So I wanted to add that, because like gaming can be a relief for a lot of people with or without mental health issues.
100%.
Yeah, so I was like,
It's an escape.
yeah, so I was like, yeah, so people can be open about stuff and probably talk about them. And like, what's better than a mental health segment? So when they ask me like, what's it about? I say mental health. Gaming, Twitch, mental health. That's what I say.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that you've added that in there, and I love that you're opening that space where people can be open about what they're going or what they've gone through, what they've struggled with, and how gaming relates to that. Like, it's so typical for gamers to have dealt with stuff like that and use gaming as an escape. I think it's pretty genius that you added that in there.
Yep. So thank you so much again, Rubix, and everybody. Right. I will see you probably soon. So stay tuned, stay foxy, and much love. I'll see you guys in the next one.